Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari 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 Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.
Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 20. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidyanadhi ubhavapi vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. The meaning is, material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. Here, the subject matter that is being discussed is what is Prakriti and what is Purusha. Prakriti is material nature, Purusha is the enjoyer of this material nature, the living entity. So, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadhi Ubhavapi. Both the material nature and the living entities are beginningless, Anadi, without beginning. That means they existed even before the creation. We already heard in the second chapter, living entity is eternal, spirit soul. So beginningless. Material nature also always exists, not necessarily in the way that we are now experiencing material nature, but in another state. Material nature is sometimes manifest as this material world, sometimes unmanifest. But material nature always exists, eternally exists. And material nature and the living entity both are two energies of the Supreme Lord. Both belong to the category of energy. So material nature is material energy and living entity is spiritual energy of the Lord. So there is a difference. Both are energies, but living entities are superior energy. Material nature is inferior energy. What is surprising is that even though the living entity, a living being, is superior energy, the living entity comes under the influence of the material nature, becomes entangled in material nature. The inferior energy, living being, in spite of being the superior energy, becomes entangled in the inferior energy. Now, it is explained here that the living entities before this creation, they were in this Mahavishnu, in the previous destruction, inside the body of Mahavishnu, both the living entities and material energy were absorbed. Now, at the beginning of creation, they come out of the body of Mahavishnu and the living entities take birth in different species according to their desire to enjoy. According to their desire to enjoy, they take birth in different bodies. These bodies are given according to their desire. And also the living entities are not allowed to enter into the spiritual sky because they have a desire to lord over material nature. So, after the winding up of this material energy, at the end of this creation, the living entities are again given a chance to act in the material world when again a creation takes place. Again a creation takes place, they are given a chance to actually act in the material world and prepare themselves to actually enter the spiritual world. They are given again a chance to enter the spiritual world. Now, if they don't prepare themselves Then again they are absorbed in the body of Mahavishnu at the time of destruction, and again they have to take birth. So this is the mystery of the material creation. This mystery has to be understood. So the living entities have been undergoing a hard struggle in this material world, but as soon as they understand that they belong to superior nature and they are meant to go to the spiritual abode of the Supreme Lord, immediately they are freed from the clutches of this material nature. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 21. Karya karana kartrutve hetu prakriti ruchyate purusha sukha dukkhanam bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. Nature is said to be the cause of all material activities and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. There are different types of bodies the living entity can get, and this is due to the material nature. There are 8,400,000 different species of life, and these varieties are all creation of material nature only. Why so many different types of bodies, so many different types of species? It is because there are different types of pleasures, material pleasure, sensual pleasure the living entity desires, and accordingly the living entity desires to live in one type of body or another. When the living being is put in a particular body, he tries to enjoy according to the facility of that body. Now, the body is the cause of different kinds of experience of happiness and distress. Material happiness and distress are due to the body. As he is, the living being is not getting any happiness or distress as spirit soul. It's only due to the body. Now, in the original state, without the material body, in a spiritual state, the living being certainly has got facility or opportunity for enjoyment. But that is different. That is not this material enjoyment. Material enjoyment is dependent on the body. But along with this material enjoyment, the living entity has got the desire to lord over material nature. That is why he is placed in material nature. In the spiritual world, there is no such thing as lording over, because the spiritual world, the one and only Supreme Lord is the Lord of everyone. So, in the material world, everyone is struggling hard because they try to lord over material nature. So, according to the body one acquires and the desire one has to enjoy, material nature actually awards the particular body. The living entity is the cause of a particular body. Even though the body is awarded by material nature, it is dependent on the desire of the living being to enjoy in a particular way. Therefore, it is said here, the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyment in this world is the living entity himself. Even though the suffering or the enjoyment is given by material nature is not responsible for that. Just like somebody is put into the body of a dog, that soul in the body of a dog should behave like a dog only, must act like a dog only. He cannot act in any other way. If he is put in the body of a hog, he is forced to eat stool and act like a hog. So all these different bodies, they are very much conditioning the living being to act in a particular way. But then the living entity is always accompanied by the super soul in all cases, every case. This is explained in the Vedas. Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. The Supreme Lord is so kind that the living entity is always accompanied by the Lord in the form of the super soul. And as super soul, he is always ready to direct if one actually submits to the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord, the super soul, is ready to direct the living being so that the living being can come out of the entanglement. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse 22. Purusha prakristho hi bhunkte prakritijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. Meaning is, the living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil amongst various species. Now this verse is very important to understand how the living being is transmigrating from one body to another. What is transmigration? The same living being in one particular body, he is going on changing the body, but at the time of death, it is a drastic change from one body to another body. So this transmigration was explained already in the second chapter, but here a little more detail is given. The transmigration is caused by the attachment to material existence. As long as the living being is captivated by the false manifestation of this material energy, he has to continue to transmigrate from one body to another. And under the influence of the material desire, sometimes the living entity is born as a demigod, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a beast, sometimes as a bird, sometimes as a worm, sometimes as an aquatic, sometimes as an insect or a bug. All these types of bodies are due to simply the particular kind of desire. But the living entity thinks, I am the master, even though the living being is completely under the influence of material nature. So how is it that he is put into a particular type of body? It is due to his association with the three gunas. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, one is forced to transfer from one body to another. If one situates oneself in Krishna consciousness, immediately he is above the three gunas. He is not under the spell of the gunas. And then there is no more transmigration from one body to another. So how can one situate oneself in Krishna consciousness? That is possible by hearing from authoritative sources. And what is the example of somebody hearing? Arjuna is the best example right here in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is hearing the signs of God from Krishna. So, it is said, if the living entity submits himself to the hearing process, he will lose his desire to dominate material nature, to lord over material nature, lose his desire. And as he reduces his desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. So the Vedic mantra says, one can become learned in the association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as he becomes more and more enlightened, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. So, the secret is hearing from the authoritative sources, simply by hearing. Parikshit Maharaj, what did he do? He sat and heard. Simply he sat and heard, that's all. So this hearing is the beginning and the most powerful, effective way of bhakti yoga. Shravanam, Shrunvatam Swakatha Krishnaha, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Yat Yathagyasasi Tat Shrunu. So many places this hearing is given importance. Simply by hearing about Krishna consciousness, one can gradually develop Krishna consciousness and become freed from the clutches of this material nature, material energy. I'll take some questions now. Sometimes there comes a feeling of seeing or being with non-devotees that we are practicing Krishna consciousness, and they are not. They are just engaged simply in material stuff. Sometimes a proud or dominating feeling. What is the understanding to eradicate these feelings? See, we should never forget there was a time when we were also like them. After we came to Krishna consciousness, we are now seeing a difference. So, we have to take compassion upon those people who are in ignorance about Krishna consciousness. That is very much necessary. Somebody took compassion upon us and told us. Otherwise, we would continue the way we were living. We wouldn't have changed our life. So, we should also show compassion. In fact, the scriptures say the perfection of this human form of life is to show compassion upon all the living entities who are suffering in this material world. That is the mood of Krishna. Krishna has got compassion upon all of us. Therefore, Krishna is always incarnating time to time. He is sending his representatives. He is making so many arrangements for delivering the conditioned souls because Krishna has got compassion. Similarly, we should also show compassion upon people who are in ignorance. Then automatically we give up a feeling of superiority that I am in better situated. Besides that, if somebody becomes proud of his position, then Maya will attack and we can lose our Krishna consciousness. We have to be careful. Never become proud. Never become victim of Maya. Next question. What are the first few things someone should preach about Hare Krishna Mahamantra to another person? Hare Krishna Mahamantra, I think I explained this yesterday. Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the best means for counteracting the evil influence of Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna mantra is the incarnation of Krishna in the form of spiritual sound in this material world. Hare Krishna mantra is very, very easy because anybody can vibrate their tongue and Krishna in the form of holy name appears on the tongue of the vibrator of the person who is chanting. So that is the mercy, that's the extraordinary mercy of the Supreme Lord, that he appears on the tongue of a person, any person who chants the Hare Krishna mantra. So Hare Krishna mantra is also incarnation of Krishna in this Kali Yuga. Next question. Do we have the pastime of the Lord as Panduranga in Bhagavatam? No. As Panduranga, the Lord's pastime is not mentioned in Bhagavatam. Next question. What is meant by the term perfected demigods? 11.22. Perfected demigods. Oh, that is 11th chapter. I'm sorry, I'm looking in 13th. 11.22. Siddha Sangha. Yeah, the Siddha Purushas or Siddha means those who have achieved perfection by practicing the yoga system. They have achieved the 8 types of siddhis. They are called Siddha Purushas. 8 types of siddhis, Ashta Siddhi. They can become smaller than the smallest, they can become bigger than the biggest, they can become very light, or they become very heavy, or they can create a specific effect, they can counteract some material situation, like that. Different types of siddhis are described in the scriptures. So those who have acquired those siddhis, they are called Siddha Purushas. Next question. How to become a pure devotee? I think I answered this question yesterday. Pure devotee means one who is completely freed from all types of material desires, one who realizes, I am a spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna, and actually I have got a specific relationship with Krishna. That relationship is one of love, and that relationship has to be revived. It is already there, it eternally exists, but it has to be revived by the process of bhakti yoga. And then when one becomes, one is able to revive the relationship, then one understands the relationship and begins to act in that relationship to become situated in that relationship properly. Pure devotee means completely free from all material contamination, free from all material desires. No more any material aspirations, no more material possessions, like that. 11.26 and 27. As Sanjaya relays to Dhritarashtra the fate of his sons and the outcome of the war, what was Dhritarashtra's reactions? Why didn't he send an emissary in the course of the war to stop it and save them? See, Dhritarashtra is hearing what is being told by Sanjaya as to the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. But Dhritarashtra is very, very much hopeful of his son's victory because he is making material calculation. What is his calculation? Bhishma, Drona, Karna, all of them, all the big generals are on Duryodhana's side. So Dhritarashtra is thinking, whatever Sanjaya is narrating, something is happening between Krishna and Arjuna. All that may be some discussion that is going on. But my sons are guaranteed to win because of the support and the great generals on their side, and they have got very powerful army. And Krishna's own army is also on Duryodhana's side, and Krishna is on Arjuna's side, but Pandava's side, but he is not fighting. He is not going to take any weapons. So like that, all these calculations Dhritarashtra is making. So he is not thinking in terms of that what is shown, that all the Kauravas are already killed by the arrangement of Krishna, and that Arjuna has simply got to become an instrument. All that doesn't appeal to non-devotees, doesn't appeal to anybody who has got under influence of material illusion. They are making material calculations always. 11.27. Head smashed by your fearful teeth. Is this reference for warriors of Kurukshetra alone, or does a common man common man's ordinary death also happen in this way. No, no, no. This is specifically for the warriors of Kurukshetra only. Of course, they're going to be smashed by the fearful teeth, means they're all going to be destroyed in this battle. It's not that they're actually coming between the teeth. It is for Arjuna that Krishna is showing. As Kala, they are going to come under the clutches of death by being killed in the battle. That's the indication. What can be done when the mind itself creates sense objects? I mean lusty thoughts. In the case of rishis, externally apsaras used to come, but in our case, mind itself creates sense objects. Actually, it is said in the scriptures that in the material world there is nothing to enjoy, really speaking. But we create or concoct some plan, idea of enjoyment according to our desire to enjoy. According to our desire to enjoy. Just like these senses and sense objects, they are not meant for any enjoyment actually. It is simply our concoction that some particular type of sense contact is favorable. We think like that. I'll give you a very simple example. For a person who is born in a vegetarian family from birth itself and then been eating only vegetarian food, for such a person the smell of fish is horrible. For example, I was born in a vegetarian family, and for me always the smell of fish is very, very, very bad. So I remember sometimes when I used to go to buy vegetables when I was in my college days, then next to the vegetable market there will be the fish market. So when we are coming out of the vegetable market, we have to pass through a small section where the fish market smell of the fishes will be coming. So we just, all the vegetarians, they just can't tolerate the smell. The same smell for those who eat fish, for them it is very, 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 very pleasing. They say, oh, this is the smell of some particular type of fish which I like very much. This is another variety. That's another variety. They take it like fragrance, something very, very pleasing for their sense of smell. So like that, it is relative. There is nothing to enjoy or nothing to dislike, nothing to like, nothing to dislike. Why? Because we are spirit soul. Our pleasure is spiritual pleasure. There is nothing like material pleasure which we are meant to enjoy. Then what is this enjoyment? I like this, I like that, or I don't like something else. This is simply a concoction in our mind. How do we concoct? By making a plan for enjoyment. It is just like I have some experience, and based on that experience I build it up. Just like somebody has got experience of, let's say, enjoying eating some particular eatable. Then they make a plan. Oh, next week I will go with my friends to this particular restaurant, and in that restaurant we will order this particular dish, and we will all together enjoy eating that. We will have a party. See how they make plans? And like this plan making is continuously going on, not only individually, even collectively, and big plans. And when actually death comes or destruction happens, or there is some accident or failure, then everything is smashed. All the plans are completely destroyed. In any case, none of these will endure. That we have to always remember. Nothing of these plans or these types of enjoyment will ever endure. Sometimes we carry some memories of past enjoyment, but it is simply a concoction, that's all. material concoction. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.